Money John is review. They said men like paying bribe more than
Yeah.
women. Is it true?
No, the Amapino song is say Maria Hami Mobo.
No, but Caleb, it's serious. The issue about bribery and corruption should not be glossed over. And I think that you know, our country will not go anywhere if we don't look in the mirror every now and again and say, what should we change about ourselves?
Yeah.
Now, the reason this is an issue for me is that, you know, when I go to places and people realize who I am, they come to me with a litany of complaints about the country. So they'll say, oh, Bernard, city. Then they'll start talking. Our roads are bad. Well, our government is not doing this. People are not doing that. They have all kinds of things to say. Educational system, the doctors, the nurses, you know. But this Statistical Service report on corruption is basically saying that just like the prophet said to David, you remember that prophet who told a story about Nathan? He said there was a man who had many sheep and he wanted to do a party for himself, and then he went to the man who had only one sheep, and then he took the sheep from the man violently and killed it for his own party. And then David said, this man has to die. What a wicked man, what a bad person. You know, and the prophet waited for David to say all the things he said and pronounced judgment on that and said, you are that man. And David was like, I said, you are that man. Because you are the guy who I gave a throne to. You were nobody. I put you on the throne. You have more than 3 wives. And then a man who is loyal to you, who is guarding you, you went to take his wife from him. David says, I have sinned against God. He said, no, you have sinned. It's very clear you have sinned. So I want us to go into some of the highlights of the report. See, you cannot change a nation only by people complaining. You can change a nation by people admitting.
Correct.
And also saying that we will not partake in this activity again.
Correct.
Okay. I've been told by lawyers that when it comes to corruption, the giver and the taker of a bribe are equally guilty. So we shouldn't even present corruption and bribery as if it's only a question of the demand side. By demand side, I mean you go to a government agency and they are dragging their feet and therefore you have to pay a bribe. If that's the demand side for corruption, the supply side is the person who actually dips his hand in his pocket and pays. You understand? The basic economics I know tells me that if you want to balance and solve any problem holistically, you do your analysis from both demand side and supply side. So we cannot discuss corruption only from the point of view of the taker of bribes. We must also look at corruption from the point of view of the giver of the bribe. Okay. Yeah. So, for example, when you go to an assembly that you want something to be done, and then they are dragging their feet, do they ask you to pay a bribe, or do you think that if you pay the bribe, it will make it faster? Both of you are equally guilty. It should not be that. So, yes, the person who is making the work difficult for you, he will receive the first condemnation, probably the greater condemnation. But you, the guy who also caved in and gave it to him, is equally guilty. Because if we have a culture of saying we will neither give nor take, things will get better. Now, the thing about corruption is that it's a slippery slope. So you start by paying 2 cedis or 3 cedis so you can get an advantage somewhere. You can end up paying for your degree, end up paying for an appointment, paying for a post.
Doctorate.
Pay for a doctorate, yes. And I read a notice somewhere that the easiest way to destroy a country is not to bring guns and come and shoot the people. Go to the classroom and let the students feel that they don't have to learn, but they can pass if they get APO. And that if they can pay money and they get the questions ahead of time, they will do well in the exam. That's how you destroy a society. That's how you destroy a society. And we are very angry about external aggressors. So when some foreign embassy says something, hey, why should they say that? Hey, they say Ghanaians are corrupt. They shouldn't say that. We have self-respect. We are very angry, but we don't get angry when Statistical Service releases a report and says a lot of Ghanaians are collecting and paying bribes. More men are collecting it than women. That one is nothing. Oh, that one is just normal. It's civil society. It's anti-corruption, Mary Ada, Kukujo Pumpuni Asante, and what's the other one's name? Vitus Azim. That's their work. So that one is just something. Nobody ever says, for the next 5 Sundays, we are going to preach about why bribery will take you to hell, why bribery is evil, why it's a sin, why paying and collecting, why the payer and the collector are both evil in the sight of the Lord. 10 days. We are always doing 10 days for babies, 10 days for visa, 10 days for financial breakthrough. We are never doing 10 days against corruption. March against corruption, never. Do a march against corruption, nobody will go. We are complicit. We are happy. This is our state. So for me, I'm going to say it as it is. That report is damning. 174 pages on governance. Congrats to the Statistical Service. We are active participants. Is that the word? We partake. We are. I want a stronger word. We are. What's the legal word for somebody who took part in a crime? Accomplice. We are willing accomplices in the enterprise of corruption.
Oh, we are betters.
We are. Thank you. We have donated ourselves and sold ourselves out to paying bribes. Oh yeah,
it's been normalized.
Yes, that's why. You know what is news? News is something that is out of the ordinary. So you are told in Digitalizing 101, when a dog bites a man, it's not news. When a man bites a dog, it's news. Which means that the fact that the corruption report is not registering means that it's not news. Do you know what that means? It means we know.
We've become acclimatized to it. It's normalized.
So today I came to say to the people when they meet me at programs, "Oh Bernard, I want to see you. Yeah, do you know this is happening in my area? Somebody has done this. Every day somebody has a complaint. All the people come and meet me. They are good people. Though. The people come and complain about Ghana. They are the good ones. The rest of them. So who is doing the bad in Ghana? Sky. Whether I'm in church,
a few bad men.
I go to football match. I go to the market.
Yeah.
I am taking a walk. Oh, are you Bernard? Please come. Please don't stop talking about the thing. Talk about the people. Talk about the politicians. Talk about the pastors. Talk about the Jesus. Talk about the Tonto. Talk about the Danda. So who is doing bad in Ghana? Truck drivers say they will go on protest against pedestrians who are selling.
Yes.
Pedestrians who say truck drivers are lawless.
Yes.
So who is bad in Ghana?
And truck drivers are refusing to reduce the prices of transport.
For me, it is a very very serious issue. And then what is making it worse is that we have not stopped to reflect on it. I think that we have to bow our heads in shame and resolve. We are entering a new month. May is ending. That from the month of June, we are going to reduce the number of bribes we pay because we are paying a lot of bribes and we are collecting bribes. I know that sometimes bad habits you can't stop immediately, but we can say that for driver's license, for passport, for land, the major services we will not collect, we will not pay bribe.
Okay.
Let me lose. You see, people forget that everybody who wants to live a life of righteousness will be persecuted. That's what the Bible says.
True.
Suffering is part of the reward of doing good. You will suffer. People are not prepared to suffer. People want life to be easy. You can't be. So if you say you want Ghana, you have to suffer. And that suffering means that sometimes it will take you 6 months to get it if you can get it in 6 days. That's suffering. That's what it means. We are the gospel of suffering is no longer in Ghana. So everybody has a reason for paying. And yet they want the problem to be solved. Who is going to solve the problem? Go into that report and read it. It's an indictment on the Ghanaian society. So please, before you call me and send me another thing that I should follow up on, before you send me an email and say, Aloski, yeah, Charlie, this morning, there's some guys building some house, some road, some fitter, somebody, this, that. Every day somebody has something to complain. Who is doing evil in Ghana? Who are the ones collecting the bribes? Say, why is it that the people who are complaining there? So is it that the people who are doing but they don't talk?
You are doing a complainant and accused.
Yes! it is. And for me, the destruction of our society will be consummated if we don't stop at a point and say, enough of the hypocrisy. Let's look ourselves in the face and say, we have to change as a people. We have to stop this ostrich lifestyle where we always talk about what others are doing without looking at what we ourselves will do. So, on this note, the report is online. Please go and download it and read it. There are many parts of that report. Everybody should read the part that concerns them. And tomorrow morning, today, when you go to the mosque, repent.
Sunday,
when you go to the church, repent and say, God, forgive me for being part of Ghana's problems.
Yes.
And that from today, I will never pay a bribe again.
Some of the people who need to do that. Okay, so Bernard, I have this message that I've had with me for some time. I want to read to you, share with you and Sky. So we help this person. For example, the conversation starts this way. Charlie, any links in lands registry? I sent my document site plan to register the land and the documents are missing.
Mercy.
I said, hey, is it the same as lands commission? Because she said lands registry and she said yes. All 4 documents for almost 4 years. Back and forth, sir. Some guy said he could help. He took money and then did nothing. I'm worried someday someone will show up for our land. So this person is trying to get help.
The land registry.
Yeah.
And the documents have disappeared.
Yeah.
So let me be fair.
Let
me be fair. There has to be a system in which this person can get redress.
Correct.
Without having to pay that guy
Correct.
to go and retrieve the document. So whilst I am sure that the payer and the payee are equally guilty, I think in some cases like you've just read,
out of desperation, someone offers to help.
The institution must take responsibility.
Yeah.
The institution must take responsibility. So, well, I'm not saying we'll not follow up on these matters, but I'm just saying that it's good. 4 years you've not received your document. Yeah. At least it means you've persisted for 4 years. Yeah. Okay. I feel like there has to be 3 different conversations. Institutional reform, where service delivery at the public service unit has to be properly discussed. All right, service delivery. Yeah. Then we also need to look at behavior change, which is in relation to the way the person is talking to you, the way they just drag their feet. True. And then there also has to be sanctions and enforcement. Sanctions and enforcement. That's a holistic conversation. So institutional reform means that some institutions must be collapsed. Some of the institutions must re-engineer the place, digitalize the operations. So some institutions. So sometimes when it comes to bribery and corruption, you must make it difficult for them to collect the bribe. So no cash. So for example, ECG say no cash. Yeah. Now it's tougher to be corrupt when it's digital because there's a paper trail.
True.
All right. So there's a discussion we need to have around what reforms do we need to have for institutions like ECG, SNIT, Lands Commission, Passport Office? All those things are important parts of the conversation. Then there's the behavioral change. Pastors, imams, radio presenters, talk about that. Don't pay bribe. Always push it in their face. This is what we are doing. But then there must also be sanctions and enforcement, where whether it's the Attorney General's office or SNIT, what do you call this other one? Shraj or those guys, they then come in and say, Mr. Bernard, what you've done, you've broken the law, this is what you have to do. Those 3 must work in tandem.
Right.
If this issue of corruption, I think though that the social side has not been done that well. And I believe that because a lot more people interact informally with the state.
Yeah.
People don't necessarily listen to the president every time he speaks on 6 March. People listen to the radio more. Yeah. People go to church and listen to a sermon. People go to mosque and listen to an exhortation. I think that those platforms, people go to school and listen to their teachers. Those platforms must be deliberately harnessed in the behavioral change component of my 3-pronged approach. All right?
Service delivery.
The government can do what it can sanctions. With enforcement and sanctions. That's clear. That one, they do some, they can do more. Institutional reform, I think, is also very legitimate, where there are ministries, department, agencies that have to be reshaped and all those things. But the behavioral part is when we take a report from Statistical Service and we dissect it on air. When we go to church on Sunday, the pastor says, this week we are praying against greed. And we are telling people that accumulating money using the wrong means is evil. You understand? Because it is what you tell people every day that they believe. All right, if you reinforce the message, a lot of times the things we tell people in the churches is more like, Charlie, you will make it, you will break through.
Amen.
The God of overtaking, the God of a second chance.
Yes.
So, like, it's almost like when you get born again, the first evidence you are born again is that you have to succeed financially, and therefore No matter how you get the money, God is happy. The evidence that you are saved is that you are blessed. And the evidence that you are blessed is that you have money. Even if you still to take the money, once you go and pay a tithe, you are on track to heaven. That message must change. Because social, you see, it's easier to change a law than to change a behavior. It's easier to change a policy than to change people's convictions. So I am saying that we, the people who sit on the social side, media, pastors, imams, teachers, parents, we have to model good behavior, and we have to also show evidence of, essentially highlight those who do right and expose those who do wrong. That's our responsibility.
Correct.
So people of Ghana, go and read the Statistical Service report. Wilson, put it on the City Newsroom website. Put it there, the Statistical Service, or put a summary there, or do an infographic of the key highlights of our behavior when it comes to bribery and corruption, and put it on the website, so that people will read it and repent today and Sunday. I'll finish my submission for the morning.
So my question to you, our listener, is in the month of June, tell me 3 public institutions that you want to see the transformation we are talking about. 3 places you've dealt with that you want to see some serious transformation, and wherever you are also working, what 3 things do you think you would have to effect changes?
There is a lot too. Let them give you one.
Just single one.
Just give you one.
Just one.
Just one. The one that is critical.
The very, very critical one. Yes.
One public institution that they really believe that
there must be change.
They have to change.
And you yourself also, one thing that you want to do differently, that will be a change for you in the month of June. Because like Bernard has said, it's easier to change a law than to change behavior. So let's all agree on some critical things we need to change as we get into half year and we see how things go. But Sky, so for someone who's taken a document to the Lands Commission, and for 4 years she's been following up, and they tell her the documents are missing, someone offers to help, then they pay, nothing gets done. What remedies are available to such persons? Because genuinely, if you're frustrated and you have concerns that someone could come and take over your lands because an authority you have entrusted your documents to have misplaced that document, you are susceptible to a lot of things that could be happening within those institutions, are you not?
Well, that is true, but fear of irreparable harm, or one that is repairable, depending on the circumstances of the case, does not, without more, serve as a defense for committing an unlawful act, because in this case, the law clearly states that you cannot bribe a public official in order to get a particular end served. The law is
demanded.
Whether it is demanded or not, you as a citizen have a duty, an obligation imposed by law, not to engage in that conduct. But in cases where for some reason you paid the money in question, the question there arises whether you can support the Attorney General to prosecute the public official involved. As you do know, we currently have, a regime that the Attorney General is taking advantage of robustly to invite people who are well aware of crime committed in one space or the other, or who are fringe suspects, if you like, in the commission of crime, to bring their complaints to the Attorney General's office and support eventual successful prosecution of the people involved. In those cases, then the Attorney General's department can cut you some slack, use you as a prosecution witness, and then have you, testify against whoever is the public official involved.
So that speaks to the sanctions.
The officer gets punished.
It speaks to the sanctions argument Bernard was talking about earlier. But this sounds like a very tedious, long process.
Well, you see, so the duty imposed by the law, it's not one that you can easily waive like that.
Yeah.
You can't say that because someone is coming to take over my land, and because I fear that the person will succeed in doing the same and it will be cumbersome seeking to recover the land in question, then I find it expedient to pay bribe. Because the moment you do that, you fall within the remit of culpability of the law. Now, the question is what should happen to you thereafter. And my submission, respectfully, is that in appropriate cases, if the Attorney General takes the view and the offer is made that you want to serve as prosecution witness, so that Kwame so and so at the Lands Ministry, or Lands Registry collected, say, 1,000 Ghana cedis or 20,000 Ghana cedis from you for purposes of doing ABC, when he ought not have done the same, and the intent was to get him to facilitate a particular process unlawfully, then in those cases, then you can have some slack.
Let me just provide further and better particulars, as you will say it, right? So a friend is doing the listener, and she says, I don't do bribes at all. It's not a bribe. He asked for the money to, so it was paid for a service.
Okay.
You went through the system, and we went through the system. He saw me and asked that they have a department where you pay and they do the search. So when you take your documents there and it gets missing, then there's a department you pay, they go search for you.
So he gave the money to this person to pay for the search.
Exactly.
And they've not got him back.
And it's been 4 years. So in all intents and purposes, that was no bribe. That was actually a payment for the search. So if you misplace my document, I also then have an obligation to pay for you to now go and search for what you have misplaced.
First of all,
can I ask a question?
I just want to deal with
go
it.
ahead.
First of all, there are formal processes for making payments. And when payments are made, they are made to specific, offices within the space.
Correct.
And you need to receive a receipt to that effect. So you cannot make payments to people just on the go without receiving a receipt in return. And ensuring that the office to which, or the officer to which you made a said payment was lawfully, clothed with the authority to receive whatever payment.
Bernard, I remember sometime this week we spoke about someone making payment for a certain land, and they were given receipts, and the receipt did not capture exactly how much they paid for the entire service. And that happens a lot. If you get involved in a crash, for example, they will ask you to get a DVLA test. Testing officer to test the vehicle for you to know whether or not all its essential parts were working before everything gets done. And you know what? The receipt will not cover exactly how much you've paid. There's a specific amount they will give you on that to capture that this is how much we're giving.
What I wanted to
so
ask,
there's still that thing.
In response to you and what Sky was saying, was my question is, do we have a formal institution that people can complain to when another institution is being unfair to them?
Well,
because you see, I'm coming. You will say shraj. Ordinary Ghanaians, it will shock you that these things are very foul. When you say shraj, like Sky, you're a lawyer, you're a journalist for many years, so you understand what shraj means, and you have the confidence to write a petition to shraj
and the access.
Now you are a woman who has 3 kids with your husband in America, and you are trying to register a house while you feed your kids. You are having stress with all these matters, and then they are doing you at Lands Commission. The concept of even going to Shraj will not even occur to you. Do you understand? So I'm not saying that Shraj is not important. We may need a different way of getting people to seek redress more directly, because this is 4 years of a Lands Commission, if it is true, stressing this kind of person, essentially frustrating you. You get it? There has to be an institution that can say, no, what you are doing is wrong, or that can summon an official, but I'm not sure it is readily available.
Well, the presidency has announced the establishment of an office within the presidency to deal with matters like this. The question is whether that office in itself is accessible.
Yeah,
I think, yes,
it's new to me.
Oh no, there was a public declaration to that effect.
When he was doing the code of conduct?
I don't remember precisely, but I do know that the government had announced that they were going to have an office or public institution of some kind that would deal with matters.
Can't he decentralize it? Can we make it? Because again, presidency, Sky, have you ever gone to the presidency?
Charlie?
we are talking about
intimidating.
Let's take our time. We are talking about somebody goes to an assembly to complain about something, or he's trying to register something and they are frustrating him. Presidency is too far. We are talking about service delivery to the populace. Maybe the design of our governance system needs a bit of thinking, because if somebody goes to say, my favorite name these days is Okushibiade. You go to a place
what does that
near
mean?
Ashalaja. Okay. And then you are going to maybe register your land at the Amasaman area. All right, maybe it's on one plot you got in after driving for 25 years. They want to build your house, and they are frustrating you. Presidency is too far. In fact, they don't even allow you to enter.
But what if I'm in the northern
by the
region?
time you drop from the trotro and you get to the presidency, I call you your must clear. See, so what we are saying is that there has to be, we have to design our governance system so that people have access to I want a word. They have access to
efficient public
help
service
in a more organic, decentralized way. So maybe an assembly should, I don't know whether assembly is the right place to use or whether, but there has to be, or maybe some line or some place where you can say, look, my name is Fifi Edu. I bought a land at Okushibiade. I've been trying to register the land for the past 6 weeks. And the assembly is just frustrating me. One Mr. Otu is there, is not helping. You get it? Something. Because court is expensive. Trash is far. Presidency is
too
impossible.
far.
But there has to be a way of people seeking redress. I don't know whether it's the People's Tribunal, something, maybe the governance book.
Because truthfully, that frustration.
OSP.
Oh,
yes, it's OSP.
It's
but
good.
OSP
Politically exposed persons, isn't it?
So maybe if something like OSP.
Crimes, no.
So wait.
If an
No,
official,
politically exposed persons.
No,
Okay, if the
not-
official.
Bajiri,
Okay, sorry.
talk to explain.
okay, the mandate of what do you call it?
SP.
OSP is not confined to politically exposed crimes,
Okay.
which are corruption related in nature. So if you go to the Ministry of Lands, someone demands something of you. In return, he promises to do A, B, C, D to facilitate the process. And it is known that that money you are paying was meant to bribe him. It falls within the mandate of OSP.
Good. But is OSP, again, they are now setting up the office fully. And I don't know how we're sent. Because I am thinking about ordinary people facing problems at the local level. That's what I'm thinking about. OSP is in Accra. I don't know if they have offices across the country and how accessible they are.
Sami will know.
So I feel like there has to be a conversation about maybe we're in a digital era now.
Yes.
So in addition to maybe physical structure, some place that somebody can genuinely complain and they will be listened to
Efficiently.
in a way that just and so I don't know, somebody should design some office of public complaints or something where
Maybe within the institutions themselves.
Hey,
or it could be that's possible. So it could be or within sectors because maybe school placement help. Like let's assume I go to a hospital, a public hospital, and I'm mistreated. Okay, the nurse doesn't mind me. I sit there for long, and they are just ignoring me because I don't know anybody there.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe the hospital should have a system where I can report, or there should be some place I can report that the hospital will be checked. Something. There's something in the institutional arrangement that does not give citizens, which is why they send messages to the radio stations all the time.
Yeah.
And the radio stations can't follow up on everything. You get it? So sometimes we name and shame, but sometimes that's even on partial information. So that's also not the best way to do it. You get it? Because you can also charge them out without hearing their side.
That's true.
Okay? So maybe an arrangement where maybe health, I don't know, is it HEFRA? So, like for the health sector. So maybe can this be sectoral? So that maybe if you have problem with the health, a hospital, you go and talk to HEFRA. If you have a problem with the education, you go and talk to somebody, NACA, I don't know. But there has to be some, if you group the issues people have with service delivery and the recourse to paying bribes, you get it? The Lands Commission, hospitals, schools, passport office, DVLA, there could be some type of arrangement that will help citizens at the local level or digitally to access help and be heard.
So, Bernard, at the local level, I'm reading there's something called Public Relations and Complaints Committee, PRCC.
Okay.
And it's a key component of Ghana's local government system.
All right.
So it's established by the Local Government Act 936 and provides citizens with a way to address grievances against assembly staff and other issues. So PRCC, this is new to me.
Okay.
Their main function is to address public complaints and grievances, ensuring transparency and accountability within the assembly.
Okay.
It also plays a role in disseminating information about the assembly's activities and resolving conflicts among residents. So it's composed of the presiding member, who is the chair, elected assembly members, representatives, NCCE, SHRAJ, Information Services Department, Civil Society Organization. Yeah. And this according to the Local Government Act 936.
Read that thing again. The whole thing, right? Read it and take your time. I want to hear it again.
Right. PRCC typically stands for Public Relations and Complaints Committee.
Okay. Of the Assembly.
It's a key component of Ghana's local government system.
Okay.
It's established by the Local Government Act 936.
All right.
And provides citizens with a way to address grievances against assembly staff and other issues.
Really?
So their role is to address public complaints and grievances, ensuring transparency and accountability within the assembly. Now, it also plays a role in disseminating information about the assembly's activities and resolving conflicts among residents. So, the municipal assembly you live in, if you are listening to me, let me know if you've ever experienced what we are talking about.
Pause there.
Yeah.
So you see, if the local governance system is effective, the lady who sent you the message may not even have had to go to the National Office of Lands Commission.
Correct.
To get this document missing, so that the registration would have been at the local level, and therefore, if you had a problem, this thing that you just read will solve it.
Yeah.
One of our challenges is that for most things, even for driver's licenses, it's not that they are trying to get new units. So you see, because we have not decentralized the nation properly, most people still have to interact with birth and death registry in Accra, Lands Commission in Accra,
Passport.
DVLA in Accra, Passport Office in Accra. Now, once you have a problem there, how are you going to go to this PCCT thing to go and solve it?
PRCC.
If, for example, you could get your license at a local level, you could get your housing documents at a local level, then you can use the PRCC thing to solve it. So I think we are seeing a problem of ineffective decentralization or incomplete decentralization as part of what compounds the problem. Do you get it?
Okay, I get it. So, for example, if I live in Ga East and I needed a passport, I needed
you come to Accra.
You don't have to come all the way to Central Accra to get anything done.
I don't think so.
If your assembly were to be functioning, you just go to the district assembly version or branch of the public service you're looking for, which would have driven you all the way to the ministries. Get that done, because they also reduce traffic. Every day, we are all coming here at 6, leaving after 6.
So we are seeing that some of the discussion shows misalignment between the arrangement for resolving issues, which is the PRCC, and the way the public interacts with the state. The public doesn't interact with the state at the local level very often.
At all.
Okay. Now, if you read the messages you've received, you can start seeing the type of organizations that people are complaining about.
Yeah.
Right? You can tell that it's mostly service delivery based organizations. Okay?
That's right.
You know, so I think that we have to find a way of redesigning the interaction between citizens and the state. Okay?
Yeah.
And if we don't crack that, we are not going to go forward with this issue at all. I wanted you to touch on some of the comments that are coming.
Yes, I'll bring a few in. We're trying to work through them. Bernard, women also pay bribe. They pay it in more dangerous ways. Okay. Bernard, on your corruption views, don't you think the Ghanaian system must be fixed first so that we can all decide to do the right thing? For example, if my sister is sick, I get to the hospital and they say there are no beds, I'd rather pay someone to get me a bed before my sister dies. So please, let's fix the system first. Prince from Airport is bringing in that.
Let's think about that a bit. Let's read it again. So Bernard, on your corruption views, don't you think the Ghanaian system must be fixed first so that we can all decide to do the right thing? Example, if my sister is sick, I get to the hospital and they say no bed, I'd rather pay someone to get me a bed before my sister dies. So please, let's fix the system first. People should think about that for a bit. I won't comment. Let's just think about it. It's an interesting thought. Let's think about it for a bit.
So I mean,
no, let's think about it.
For purposes something little. So there are instances in law
where the defense of necessity is invoked.
Right.
To say that in the circumstances, was there something done which,
Compelling.
although unlawful, was aimed at forestalling an irreparable harm? What I do not know, and I do not presently have an opinion on, is whether the defense is alive in the present matter that you just raised.
Point. And also whether we can ever fix the system first. Because when you say the system must be fixed first, I'm not saying sisters should die. But the more you pay for bed, the more you perpetuate the economy. It's a difficult situation. So the economy that tells you that there's no bed and therefore pay only thrives because people desperate will pay. So whilst you're not paying will not solve it in its entirety. So there's no, I think somebody, President Mahama said something, that no one policy solves a problem. It's a multiplicity of things. It says effective governance.
True.
So I want to borrow from there. So there are different things we should be doing to solve a problem like no beds. So on one hand, we must fight for more beds to be given. But also the hospitals must be accountable.
Yeah.
Okay? So there has to be a place where you can transparently know if there's a bed or not.
Yeah. So that before you even set off, you know that there's availability here.
Then that's where the solutions are coming. So a couple of people have sent some solutions I want to read. But you read some of the points first. I have about 3 proposed solutions listeners have sent me. So let's go on.
Sure.
Okay, so let's go to more comments on this particular one. So good morning, CBS team. Talking about the Lands Commission, folks. I have a friend who had to be going up and down for close to a year for his documents, while the people who were in charge of the documents were delaying and asking for lunch and fuel money from him the whole time. It's coming in from Daniel in Ashiye.
So who can Daniel report to? He's going for his documents. They are asking for lunch. Does the CEO of the Lands Commission make it possible for people to report these things to him?
Exactly.
Do they have an anonymous phone line you can call and say, my name is Fifi Mensah. I've been trying to get my land document for 6 months, and Mr. Kofi Mensah says I should give him. You understand? There has to be, or are we going to digitalize them and say, we don't want any human being, so submit your, like for example,
scan your documents, upload them all.
I have applied for visas in some countries. I go online, I download the documents, I fill it, I upload it. I don't meet any human being.
Yeah.
The only time I meet a person when I'm going to do my biometrics.
True.
I do my biometrics, they upload it digitally. Sometimes they don't even interview me. In fact, British visa, they don't interview me anymore. So you put everything in the system, they send it to Sheffield, and it comes back with a request. Now that has its own issues.
Yeah.
The Americans will still interview you.
Yeah, because
Okay.
of their own.
So what I'm trying to say is that no one problem is no one solution is a silver bullet. Where you say, as for this one, when you digitalize, is the solution. But in some issues, there are little things you can do. Like if every institution CEO says that zero tolerance for corruption at my institution. Number 2, I have an open door policy. On Fridays, you can come and complain about my staff. Do you get it? I think that could work. Or the CEO can put up a special number and say, this number is my complaints number.
Do they still have suggestion and
suggestion box?
Yeah, complaints box. Yeah.
Suggestion box. Okay, so read more, but I think there should be some of those.
Okay, so this one says, please go to the Asuchari Junction barrier and see the men who are supposed to uphold the law on sanitizing our roads. They are neck deep in collecting daily tolls on that road.
Umaru Sanda, you live in
Is
that
it
area.
daily
Is it true?
tolls? Is it
daily
toll?
Yeah, daily tolls. So you know what he's talking. This is the
euphemism.
one Ghana something.
Umaru Sanda, if you are listening to my lecture, is it
That
true?
euphemism.
They say the Asuchari Junction police people collect
And then
money.
Friday,
Is it true?
something for the boys.
Okay, this one said, good morning, Bernard. The government which refuses to enforce the laws is the bad one. The bribe taker is the most evil person. It's coming in from John Abbott, who is listening to us in Sakumono. And this one says, good morning, Bernard and team. My pastors,
Many pastors,
forgive me, are preaching or are teaching us to bribe our way to heaven. Really? Everything about salvation has been tied to money and not so much about attitudes and behavior. It's coming in from Gilbert.
from Akimoda, who takes a dim view of what the preachers are preaching these days. This one says, Caleb, custom officers at the Tema Port can't change. Make it that some custom officers at the Tema Port can't change. So the government must deploy AI or robotics to replace them. Kofi in Tema is sending that one in. This one says, good morning, Bernard and team.
Morning.
Here are the questions we should answer on these issues of corruption. One, when I get to an institution and someone asks me to grease his palm before the needful is done for me, what should be my response?
Good.
Where do I report the incident, and what evidence do I need to lodge my complaint, and how do I follow through for effective change?
Very, very good question.
I believe when people know the what, the how, and the where, we will make a conscious effort to
This is a very, very good message that summarizes what I've been trying to say. So, bro, why are you rushing to? Take your time. We are using the message. So you see, this is a very important question. So you go to a district assembly that you are going to get some document.
Yeah.
And then the man doesn't want to mind you. And he's giving the impression that he wants you to pay a bribe.
Yeah.
You see, we in the media, we are lucky. Because we are media people and people know us. Sometimes it's easy for us to know the DCE or the big men. There's, I know you. So we don't face what a lot of ordinary people face.
That's very true.
Because I have gone somewhere, some people, and when they don't know you, they don't even greet you. When they don't even mind you.
Terrible attitude.
You go to a shop or even a government agency to talk to somebody. The way the guy will look at you, it's like you have committed a crime by coming there.
God.
So I think this question this person is putting is very important, that maybe every institution should have an office of complaints.
There is an example.
Or a complaints line that is regularly enforced. See, this is the thing. People can put something there perfunctorily. They'll put a suggestions box there.
Yeah.
Maybe as part of the way we review institutions, so whether it's health insurance institutions, all these offices, there should be monthly review of what complaints were given. And those complaints must be sent to somebody.
Yeah.
I think that's the way to work it, unless you digitalize the whole process. Now, because of employment, if you digitalize the whole process, you are going to create job losses. So are you going to say, like the way when you're going for a UK visa now, apart from going for your biometrics at the visa place, you can decide to do everything digitally. You can also decide to send your own documents. Okay? And so, if we go digital fully, does that actually solve the problem?
Well, what it will have, the impact it will have will be positive, especially on those people who understand how to engage the process. Because in deploying IT tools, you first of all must understand the ecosystem and be sure that the people do have the knowledge to be able to engage it. Where there are people who don't have the capacity to engage it, then what other modes do you deploy to ensure that they are, also catered for? So that is a challenge we face. If you read, the Oxford University's assessment of Ghana's preparedness to deploy IT, we are far, far, far behind if you compare us to many other countries, although progress is being made in many circles. So you have raised an important point. Would IT solve the problem? And I believe that IT can help in many
digital
cases. Exactly.
So let me give an example. ECG one day announced cashless. It got some resistance initially, but now it's working. So they say you don't go to any ECG office and give somebody cash. Every payment must be digital. So assuming government says all service provision by government agencies are cashless, this is assembly for land, everything, you don't pay cash, that everything you need to pay digitally. Would it reduce the bribery? Maybe it will. So can we do? Maybe we should.
No, it will. I think they've been trying to do this.
Do that.
I mean, it will not eradicate it completely. It will reduce it. The other day, when the Ghana embassy in the US tried it, people diverted where the digital payments would end up going.
But you found them.
No, that's what I'm saying, that it will reduce it, but it doesn't necessarily eradicate.
No, but stay there. Imagine if that guy was collecting the money physically. But now that he was collecting the money electronically, they can build a body of evidence and catch him.
No, they can. But you see, electronically is yes, the ecosystem has flags. I mean, as in, there can be red flags for you to notice that something is not. But if it's a collective
No, I'm even saying that I'm not talking about prevention. No. I'm saying that even if the digital does not prevent the bribery, it provides a means for tracking after the fact.
Well, that's true.
So that now that he has been found out,
We can go back easily.
exactly.
And track. Yeah,
So if he had collected the money in brown envelopes, he can say, I didn't take any money from you.
Yeah.
And there's no photo.
Yeah. So this we're on this point because someone sent a question to ask. So if I go somewhere and whoever is supposed to provide me a service is not providing that service and is insisting or giving me the vibe that I should pay before they deliver the service, what do they do? And I was going to bring the story.
I'll pay by Momo. Tell them that
so that you
pay
can
by
have
Momo.
traces,
Yes.
right? You know when you arrive.
Yeah, but you see, Sky, see, let's stay with that, Mr. Mens. If a police officer takes a bribe from me by Momo, I still think there's recourse.
Oh, straight up.
Do you get it? So for me, the digital thing actually can do a lot. I'll say, I don't have cash. So give me Momo. I'll send a Momo to you. Or you tell me to an agent, and when I go to another agent, I say, on such and such a date, this person forced me to pay him money, and this is the evidence.
Yeah.
But I thought, I think there's a policy like that too. When you are paying for services, no, I mean officially, you are supposed to pay digitally. Maybe it hasn't been
in some
enforced.
offices.
Yeah.
In some offices,
I think it's a way to go to limit.
Which agency can do this? Who should be?
And then you are talking about the assemblies. The assemblies have this thing that they do that if you are paying for service, they can tell you plain that the amount you have
Is
to pay
this.
is 10 cedis. But
But the
because we
receipt-
have to sort other people out, you have to pay 100 cedis.
Tell me.
Right in the
No, tell me your story. Tell me your story.
Who are the other people?
No, tell me your
Well,
story.
that's what they will tell you.
No, tell me your story.
Testimony time.
No, they say what? I want to understand.
They'll tell you that they thing, you know, the permit, the permit in Ankasa, no, is 50 Ghana. But on say, I'll see a chair fire for no near chair, and if for a survey for near chair, it's would have been 200 and 5 GB.
Yes. And who got chance to baby
When they finally bring the receipt, it's 20 cities.
Pound to pay 200.
Wait.
Yes, I mean.
The thing is 100.
Yes.
Then they say you need to pay
Facilitation.
some co-payments so that the thing will reach 200 to sort everybody out.
Facilitation.
Then the receipt is lower than the 100.
Yes.
Then they cheated you.
No, they do that. Oh, they do that. They do that.
It's facilitation.
No, they've cheated you twice.
But you see, the local the governors,
He knows
we
government.
just need to decide that we want to express the government through local.
That's the only way to change it.
Yes, we need to decide. You understand? The
Because
government.
you mean they are doing their own
The
thing.
governments decide that we are decentralized, and then they choose and pick what they should decentralize and what they should not.
So you mean when we go to some local assembly, they are a law unto themselves.
Oh,
They're
yes.
new kingdom.
Oh, yes.
They are not even listening to
No,
president's
when you are in the
announcement of code of
when
conduct.
you are in
Nothing,
the
nothing.
districts, the assemblies are taken very seriously. But you see, I don't know how the IDF thing works for the assemblies currently.
IGF, you mean?
IGF, yes. You know, they don't have money to run the assemblies like businesses. Okay, if they did, then the wealthier assemblies would have seen some progress. Okay, the assemblies are required to have architects, and I'm talking about proper architects. They are required to have medical doctors,
Development
health
planners.
inspectors, development plan. They are supposed to have all these things in the employment. But let's check how many of them have these qualified professionals, because they can't pay them.
But if let's hold on there. Is it that they don't? So is it that they are the money they are supposed to collect for IGF? They are collecting it as bribe. Is that why they can't pay, or the government is not giving them enough money? What's going on?
And I don't know this for a fact. I think the model is said that you can't take all the money and keep all the money. Otherwise, clearly, AMA would have been the wealthiest.
Now
or
they have
Osu people, what was the Kote people would have been the wealthiest. You know, but I don't think they take all the money and use all the money.
What I've heard is that sometimes government procures certain things centrally,
Yeah.
Yes.
so they are not able to get the revenue themselves for some things.
Yeah.
But for other things that they do locally too, they don't have the capacity. For example, last week I met 6 people who said they were doing property rate collection. And they were saying to me that for a house, property rate is, I think, 100 cedis or 1,000 cedis.
1,000,
And then they
yeah.
said for a company it's 10,000.
10,000 there.
And I asked them, how do you collect the property rate? They said, oh, we come and give you a cheat. And then we ask you to pay. And then for a normal house, we can't do anything. But if it's a company, we come and lock it up. If after countless occasions, we don't. So I thought maybe they could say, sit in a van and announce that, property rates will be collected and that we are giving people end of month, they should prepare. Make a bit more noise about it and then set targets for themselves and say, we have 200 properties in this locality and we are aiming at 200,000 and then you will pay 2% of it. It sort of gives the impetus to collect it. You get it? But the people I saw, they were nice, but they were working so property rate. I didn't feel that this is because, as he's saying, the assembly doesn't die or live on whether they get the money. Because the guy working there can tell Samens to pay 200 instead of 100 and give him a receipt for 50. And they will collect. You see? So if, for example, the assembly's survival depends on that IGF, then he will say, Charlie, we need to collect money. And that money collection is not bribe, because if you don't have money, you can't do anything. So government should stop giving assemblies free money.
You see, that is
so that they will be more serious.
Space
to collect,
to run assemblies
like businesses,
within the commercial
100%.
So you see,
I think you have nailed it for us.
The first one is the constitutional provision, which is the district assemblies common fund. Send it to the various assemblies. You see, the problem with that provision in its current form is that it allows for distribution of the money they are collecting to all the assemblies
without
any form of discrimination.
Yes,
exactly. So the trick would be to temper the provision in a way as to ensure that Greater Accra region, particularly the districts we are in, they have a lot of commercially built houses and places that
you can even enforce on-street parking and charge money for it.
Exactly. So that the assemblies in Bunkurugu Yunyo,
who need the money to do things, you send the money to them.
True.
You see, because
so, Baskai, that may require some technical work. So, for example, a team could put in place an analysis of the various assemblies and then categorize them based on revenue potential. How many residential properties, how many commercial properties, how many whatever, and then estimate the revenue potential of the assembly, how many cars are with what the market. Now, when you do that calculation, you can say category A assemblies have been given the impetus to go all out and do 70% IGF, 30% district assembly. Category B, 50-50. Category C, the people in Bumpurugu Yoyo, 70% government, 30% local. Then you are making progress. I know people resist it, but the only way to force the assemblies to work seriously and to stop charging him 200 and spending it and giving receipts for 20. A whole adult of his size. I mean, can you imagine? He's supposed to pay 100. They took 200 from him, and they told him that the receipts will give you 20 because the receipts we are using. Can you imagine?
Well,
no.
So again, we have a good structure with the district assemblies. Very, very good structure. But I don't think that governments have. They see the potential in this district assembly system. See, the day before yesterday, the president, I think he met a group to explain the 24-hour.
Yes. I think a couple of days ago.
Yeah. And I scanned through the people there, and I saw lots of businessmen or business owners. I was actually
where are the local government
myself,
people?
where are the local government people?
Where are the people who are running the country on the local level?
People who are running the country from
cities.
the districts.
Who make it work or not?
Yes. I just asked myself a
That's
random question.
a good question.
And I was saying that, look, maybe they have another plan,
Right.
but that's where the
thing to
development
start.
takes place.
Yeah.
True.
That's where it takes place.
Yeah.
So, and if you force it there, it will also help you to define the kind of people who are qualified to run the assemblies. You understand?
Yeah.
If you load them with the required development work, it will help us to restructure the assemblies.
Yeah.
Because you go to assembly where there's supposed to be an architect. You don't have the architect because they can't pay the architect. So they make use of people who
Get 'em here,
either
get 'em
are draftsmen or people who are, some of the technical assistants. And they actually present themselves
As
like they're
architects.
architects.
Because they've been doing it for years.
Exactly. You understand? You can't blame them. But I'm saying that if we really, look at engineering services, Greater Accra, flooding. We've talked about flooding 1,001 times. Okay. But if you go to the assemblies, do we have structural engineers there?
Good question.
Anyway,
let's read some more comments quickly,
Yes,
Caleb, and
there
then
was-
we'll see how this goes.
Okay.
So,
Great. Let me bring
Sky.
in
Okay.
Sky. Let me just take it from there. I think we've taken this one. Good morning. I am happy about what you're discussing, Bernard. I am the team lead for disciplining marketplace leaders, DML, teaching churches for them to know that our work is to equip our members to become the church in the marketplace every day of the week. I would love to be a blessing if I can meet you. It will be a blessing if I can meet you. Okay, Bernard.
So this is
Thank you.
marketplace, not as in a dome.
Yes,
but
but-
marketplace as in outside the church.
Your
in the-
spheres
exactly.
in life,
So we need to
wherever you
understand
find
that.
yourself. Good morning, Bernard.
Morning.
Passport collection office at the Ghana Post Accra is a mess.
Oh.
If passports must be collected at that place, it must be done well. I wonder who gave that directive. Anthony from Butche
So you
sent
go to
that
the
from
post office
School
for your
Junction.
passport collection.
He didn't
Yeah,
really
it's part of it.
explain.
And so how is it a mess? Explain. It's like they are not.
Yeah, he
they
didn't
don't, you
explain.
can't
He
track
just
it.
passed a comment.
By the way, our post offices have
Still
become.
running.
I think our post offices need to be modernized.
Become a relic of
Yeah, because
historic.
the way post offices work in the country I studied for my master's degree is not how post offices work here. You know, our post offices need a lot of reform.
Ta from Lakeside Estate says, I think as part of the reforms for all public institutions, we need to establish a complaints desk or move all existing ones to be directly supervised by MDs or CEOs. That way we will reduce the radio TV complaints and instead call out these leaders if they have not acted on our complaints, since they will bear the overall responsibility. Lands Commission, good morning, City Team.
Morning.
It looks like the country can best be described as a failed state. Look, nothing works. Surprisingly, all of us corrupt people are mostly believers. We have to change la. Akosia add
Semo.
to it. Bernard and team.
Morning.
Some Ghana Post branches have been charging clients for packaging of the client's items into the box. They charge 70 Ghana cedis just for packing your item into the box. You demand a receipt and they tag your package and deliberately delay its shipping.
Oh.
It happened to me when I demanded a receipt.
And Ghana Post, who is in charge? What are they doing? Who is the new CEO there? What can they do? Ghana Post needs a lot of institutional reform.
Yeah. But if they are packaging it for you, you should pay for the packaging.
But you
But
get
the
a-
point is
you
that they are
get
not
receipt.
getting receipts. So that's
So it
that's
means
a
they are
good
doing it
that's a
their own
good
selves.
connicurously.
But
Okay,
they're
we'll
packaging
see.
it how? But you pay for the box. I have a box. I pay for it.
So that should be it.
Yeah.
Maybe the
so,
person to explain what the packaging means.
Because it's
Maybe
not
they put
clear.
another load of package on it. We don't know.
But to fight corruption, we must first make the system work smoothly for persons, all
Yes.
persons. Why will I hesitate to pay for the recruitment of my sister after she's been home for 5 years since completion of school? Her junior, who completed 2 years after her, has been working for 2 years. After paying 8K, she's now posted and I'm relieved.
So, this is an
This
issue.
is justifying.
So people are saying
home
that
for 5 years.
for placement. So even when the portals open for say nurses,
Yeah.
and
Police
teachers
and all those
those things, people have to pay money for somebody in the system to fix them.
That's a problem. Then the system is not working properly.
That is a major issue. So people are, and I've had people call me personally to say that they need money to go and pay so they can enter the system. So like the government is not doing recruitment. The government announced that okay, we are opening the window. We are admitting the 2022 batch. Somebody who finished 2023 may be able to pay and enter. Somebody who finished 2022 will not be able to enter.
Yeah.
And it's true for the nursing, the teaching. It's a major thing that's happening.
You see, in those cases, when you make a payment, when did you make the application? When did you make the payment? At what time? There's always an electronic trail. You
But the
understand?
person wants to pay because the system is not transparent.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
what
not
I'm
even
saying.
saying that he's sad he has paid. He's happy he has paid and gone in.
You see, but what
Because
I'm saying,
the system there's no clearly spelled out transparent models for putting the people in. People pay money and they are placed.
And also, if we want to discourage it, have you made possible or available any avenue for me to complain to you that if anyone demands for money, I can report them? For
they're
example,
not
I was going to give you
the
an
person you
example.
are going to complain to
Is the one that take the
he
sales.
is the agent for the collection. Bernard, I've been trying to get a birth certificate for one of my awards.
What?
Best and deaths.
In Sweden.
All the best.
Bernard, it's been 8 months.
Are they saying the person wasn't born?
It's been 8 months. And you go, and next week,
Yeah.
and I will break.
Yeah.
8 months, I can't get a
Birth
birth
certificate.
certificate. We have supplied every
For a human being that was born in Sweden.
but you do
Yes.
put stone
No,
on
I
the
don't want to.
Hey, don't
in
put in
fact,
his
I don't- No, I'm just, you see,
No, you are not putting his
you see, I am mobile because I am just telling. I said, this man, if I strike, he will lose his job.
Yeah, but that's like
I'm just asking.
he thinks you are some
Just
small
do
boy.
the right thing. No, I'm not even showing my
That's
people.
very
I'm using
Yeah.
my people.
Yeah.
You go and see the person.
You go there and say, oh, Uncle Sam, oh, no, I was in the TV.
months.
Oh,
I came for the food festival.
So, Charlie Ghanaians.
Oh, yeah, Kron.
Hypocrisy, kwa.
And then
Oh,
when you
that's-
call him, he fell back.
Me fell back.
They say everything is okay. Do we have to add anything? No, everything is good. We'll do it. We'll get back to you unless you want to do express.
Hey!
Unless you
The
want
application there is
Express
that put a
8
stone on
months
Sky Express
to
is
get a birth
synonym.
certificate in Sweden. Can you imagine?
This is Swedru.
Yes,
Birth and death registry.
yes.
A birth certificate for a human being that was born in the town.
I am telling you. I know. I'm telling you. I'm not.
So,
You are not exaggerating.
Yes.
so in many
8
ways,
months.
It's
So this
been
is like
8 months.
this
if
is
not
like
more.
October 2024.
Yes.
so in many ways, this can be interpreted as an invitation, albeit in
So they are basically telling you
For
that
you to put a
if you
stone.
think you will not,
That's one
if you
thing.
think you are wise, you will also suffer.
That's one area, but it is also possible maybe there are logistical constraints because in some cases, as we publish,
So you are going over your phone over 8 months still.
No, the man's name is here. I want to mention.
Oh no,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they should mention their name. They should that they do the work.
no, I think it's enough that you have mentioned the
Okay.
something will happen.
Swedru,
exactly.
Swedru, birth and death. If you know what is good for you.
Fire is coming.
Mama.
Sheesh.
Birth certificate.
Yeah.
As you ask, it wasn't the person
The person
born,
was born.
Yeah.
and the person was born in the district.
Yeah.
So
And you have, and you know, these births and deaths people, they can do a better job, but they are not as we think.
They are not ready to
They,
change.
they have the information, the database, everything. If you go there to do a birth certificate and you are not born in the district, they will know. And all things being equal, you don't have to be doing birth certificates in a district that you are not born in.
correct.
So it's not. So it means that they don't have any problem.
It's structured.
Yes.
The person was born there,
the
and
hospital.
we've been going back and forth every day, new story. And then they finish and say, unless you want, after 8 months, you're asking me to do what?
Express.
Express.
But what?
So Sky, in this case study, this thing you read that you claim is the district PP. You see, it's not.
Yeah.
working. I mean, you think
PRCC.
he has time to go and sit at PRCC?
Exactly.
That's why they'll come to media, because we have not designed the system to work. The system has been designed to fail. That's what it is, and people are profiting from the failure. For me, unless people's lives depend on efficiency, you see, he's getting paid after he's doing that nonsense. If he has a target to meet, and somebody, so there's no leadership, because the guy has posted him to Sweden and he has forgotten about him there. If somebody is checking randomly, teaching inspection, somebody should be able to check and say, I want your file. How many people have come here today? We have allowed lazy people to thrive, and we are destroying the country. It's bad leadership. People clamor for post. People stress and say, give me a post. When you give me a post, they don't want to do their work. Now, you are head of betom debt for Central Region. When was the last time you went to even check your Sweden office? The guy in charge of Sweden, do you know what your officers are doing? Do you understand? That's the issue. It's bad leadership, and it's causing the country to atrophy. The country is bleeding. So this corruption is a sub-economy created because bad leaders are sleeping on their job.
Exactly.
If you demand, I am saying, pull all the plugs, all the benefits, don't pay them. If they are not working, why should they be paid? They are people looking for work.
They're pretending to be working.
Oh, we should be more drastic and say that we will have a rigorous system of reviewing these people's work. If they are not working, we will not pay them. If his life depends on efficiency, so if you don't design efficiency into the system, you will get this kind of rubbish.
Yeah.
Man, look, we I think we are just doing random, commentary on these things. But I think we should spend some time talking about lands commission.
Summers.
We should spend time, maybe next week sometime, talking about lands commission
Because something
and
must
what
shake there.
goes on
Yeah.
in that lands
Yeah.
commission, the processing thing.
Yeah.
You'll be shocked.
This is where drain the swamp becomes a good term. The thing that Trump said about Washington, they have to drain it. The swamp, why? Chaka, they for squeeze make some things come out.
Both locally and internationally, we spend so much money to reform that space. It's not reforming.
But you
Some
see,
progress gets
as
made,
usual, we reform the theory,
Yeah.
Not the practical.
and the practical is left untouched.
Yeah.
Untouched. How do you reform Lands Commission by just buying computers? When you can't change the behavior
the people.
and attitudes of people,
When was the last time somebody was sacked?
when nobody gets punished
Yeah.
for doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
It's like what I was talking about, the Ramsar site.
Yeah.
The Greater Accra Regional Minister is doing an amazing job leading physical removal of structures.
But the guys at the
But
back who are
guess what?
selling the thing,
The people who are giving the permits,
they are still there.
they are still giving
They are
permits.
waiting for the rain to stop so they continue.
I'm saying that we should go and look for all the people
It's true.
whose signatures
Because
are
there must be
permits
documents
Yes.
there. Yeah.
and take them to court,
Yes.
process them and jail them.
Yes.
If you do it, the next
They won't do
person
it.
will not touch it.
So breaking the house is just the beginning. You have to go and say, how do you get your permit?
Exactly.
If the permit has a person's signature, come and show cause why you should not be prosecuted.
And Jubilee House, don't sit down
And
and,
allow-
watch
Yeah.
the Greater Accra minister alone put
Yeah.
herself in harm's way.
At all.
It's not fair.
The presidency
Presidency should
must
support her.
the committee that was formed,
Anti-
they should go there
tax
because this is what people will do. They will call the minister,
Yeah.
call the assembly, the MC, and start
Yeah.
threatening them.
Yeah. That's
what
that
they do.
We will lose your election. What?
They threaten
They-
your family.
Yes,
And
that-
and some of them, they say,
Yes.
when you are no more in power, we'll come
We'll
after
do-
you.
yes.
They do all
That's
these
what they
things.
do.
And she's a woman.
Yes.
And I'm saying that this thing, where is the Greater Accra,
No.
the regional minister, it's not the regional
No, it's
minister.
not
doing
minister
it.
matter.
The state.
The state is doing it.
Yeah.
And the interior minister should be seen there.
Yes,
Correct.
the task force that was the task force that was.
Anti-flag tax force.
They should, you see, this thing is a very serious thing.
Yeah.
The task force must take ownership of that work because, as I said in Ghana, if the presidency doesn't back something,
It doesn't work.
I'm telling you, the task force must take it a very serious issue because, and as Amen said, breaking the house is just the beginning. You cannot have 1,000 houses on a Ramsar site and tell me that institutions were not culpable.
Oh.
You understand? Who issued the permit? TDC. Who was in charge of TDC over the period where the permits were given? Bring out their names and let's check the documents.
Right. Bernard, I'm glad Samuels has said that we will dedicate some time to deal with the Lands Commission thing because I am hoping that just by having this conversation, meetings will happen, things will happen, but it's, I don't know. So Samuels, we should look into this. Please send us your messages. We'll get into them shortly.